Well. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode. In fact, not just another episode. It is yes, indeed it is, cheers to us, our 39th episode here at 39DD Show. Man, we have been rocking and rolling for over a year. It has been so surreal. We've had such amazing times, great guests, great conversations. And of course, we do this all for you, the lovely fans at home, because we care about you just that much. We want to share our lives with you, bring you into our personal spheres. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass around to my co-hosts and lovely partners in crime, Mr. Lars Classington, who, as you can see, by the way, when he jumps over to the camera, is celebrating a milestone of his own, too. Maybe I'll tell you about it.
Gentlemen, number 39. Boom, we did it. Can you believe it? 39? Wow. I remember when we were around 19, and I was thinking around 19, wow, 39 is so far away. Like, we're not even halfway right now. And it already felt, in my head, I was like, I've never done 19 weeks in a row of anything. I was already marveling at what we'd accomplished, and I was like, 30. I knew we'd get there, but it was a long time. So thank you. This is a special episode. This is super special. It's like a birthday episode almost, right? It's a weird like anniversary birthday milestone.
Yeah. And the fact that it also just so happens to fall on a long weekend Monday too, it's just like serendipity to the max.
Holiday. Yeah, it's holiday, the Queen's birthday. And we got an amazing guest who's been a huge part of our life today. But first, we got to throw it over to the regular co-host here, our partner in crime, who, by the way, has been killing it with podcast wardrobe. If you're just listening to this right now, if you're listening, you need to be watching, because he is leveled up episode after episode. Give it up for Trevor Ketcheson, everybody.
The big reveal, yes. The official name day is upon us. The actual name day of what we described it and where we are. It's so surreal to be here. I was just saying before we went on, the amount of work that it represents between 1 and 39. And it's over a year. And how is that possible if we've been consecutive, folks? Well, you just got to tune in and listen and figure that out, because we're just going to keep rolling. We're going to come together as a group and keep it going. And I'm so stoked to get this guest on tonight, because he's a dear friend of the show. Second time caller, because he called in once before. Let's give it up for our longtime buddy, playwright, extraordinary actor, Chris Ulmer.
Hey, buddy! Chris, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be on the 39th podcast. I recall Lars and Trevor coming to me when I was working in Toronto and asking if I knew anything about sound or microphones, and the answer was I didn't have a clue at the time. I still don't really, but I know you guys have kept going, and I'm very impressed and proud of you guys that you've come this far. So a massive round of applause for you guys there. Fair play to you.
Thank you, man.
I'm the only one not wearing a hat, and I feel like I should be without hair. So I'll keep it real and let the shine bounce off my lovely bald head.
It's that type of hat.
It would be a waste.
We'll crack on.
It'd be a waste for you to have a hat on. You have a magnificent skull.
Yeah. I've been told that. I've been told I'm better without the hair. So
you look like an evil genius.
Lex Luthor-y, like you kind of
totally.
look a little genius-y.
Yeah, as long as the buff and shine doesn't blind anybody in the home audience, we're great. We're absolutely great.
I've sort of switched the lighting a little bit as best as possible to make that happen, but I'm sure my crazy eyes will affect them more than my crazy head.
It really highlights your brain, and I can attest as a peer and colleague of yours, having worked with you as an actor, where you are the writer and director on shows. That brain that we're looking at, like your
big, beautiful brain.
It's a solid brain that you got in there. I just wanted to know that.
I have to say I appreciate that. I think a lot of people close to me would disagree, but as long as I have some people agreeing that there's something up there, I suppose I'm happy.
Well, we know, being an Irishman, you've killed a lot of those brain cells over the years with alcohol, but there's still a lot of plans that have been hatched out of that brain. So
Well, exactly. I mean, well, it's like milk to us, so it helps us, if anything. It gives us creativity. You know, I write while I drink.
It's more like in one ear, out the other. You know, inspiration comes and then it's gone again.
Yeah, and I try and catch it somewhere on the way out.
And just beat some progress out of it before it gets away.
Yeah, just got to try and catch it as it's all going out the window. It's coming in, it's gone, and then I got to go grab it. And I get an idea from that. But yeah.
You said earlier on the pre-show that you're out in Hamilton. So what brings you out to that part of the world, the old steel town?
I'm out in Hamilton at the moment. I think someone's just popped on there. Steel Town. I essentially moved up here for the girlfriend. I was living in Toronto. She lived up here, and I just transitioned over and moved over here a couple of years back. It's been great, to be honest. I love it. A lot of people said the Hammertown was a bit different, but people are down to earth. It's trendy. It's up and coming. I love the place up here, to be honest. It's class.
Fantastic. Shout out to the Hammer then, I guess. Why not?
Have you been to the Hammer, Bob? You must have a couple of stories from the Hammer.
Oh, yeah. I worked one of the weirdest gigs of my life out there. I was a bodyguard for a band who were a bunch of kids. They're just like little kids who played like 70s, 80s, and 90s rock covers.
Yeah.
And the reason I had to go out there, so I don't know what part of Hamilton you're familiar with, but some of the people in Hamilton are obviously a bit weird because I had to go out there and bodyguard these kids because they were getting threats playing these Battle of the Bands. Other guys' dads were threatening these kids, like little kids, because they were better than their children, you know? So sort of like the hockey dad syndrome, but only for music contests. Yeah, it was a weird fucking job.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've heard stories, but apparently, you know, that's the old Hamilton. The new Hamilton, or the Hamilton I'm living in, the people, just everyone's great. Obviously, like, I live downtown and there's certain things where I think, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like,
right? Yeah, obviously. Any town's like that.
That's everywhere, you know. And most of the time, you know, the people here are just great. Like they really are. It's like if you came up here today, you'd see that. Honestly, they're just great.
Yeah, well, I can't safely say I've been to Hamilton in 15 years. So yeah, I wouldn't know what it's like anymore.
Well, that's exactly it. Like come up now or down from Toronto, and you'll see all about it. It's a good spot. There's some famous people from Hamilton, famous comedians. Martin Short, Jim Carrey was from Newmarket, but he used to say that he looked across at the Devasco steel mill here, and he said he'd be working in Hamilton if it wasn't for showbiz. So it's good company. Eugene Levy, I think, is from Hamilton as well. So there's some good comedians, good people from here.
I guess it pays to have a sense of humor if you come from Hamilton, you know.
Definitely, but the people are just like to be honest, it's only 45 minutes away from Toronto, but the people are like very different, like very grounded and fun, and I don't know. I love the place, love the people.
Last time we were in Hamilton, Trev and I, we were there doing your stage play, Taylor.
That's correct. I wrote a play based on a web series that Lars and Trevor were both in. I named the characters after those two because I knew they'd be perfect. And I promoted the web series by writing a play based off the back of that web series. So what I did was I played the first episode of the web series, and then Lars and Trevor came back out on stage and finished the story in a play. And it actually went down pretty well. We did it in Toronto initially, and then we did two almost sold out shows up here in Hamilton. And I think it went down pretty well. I think the guys enjoyed being up here as well, and the audience was interesting. Did you enjoy it, lads?
Yeah, man, I loved it. Despite the fact that 2 minutes into the first show, I ran to the door and split my head open and probably concussed myself. And then
kind of surprised that he can remember it, but he'll say he liked it.
It was one of the greatest nights of my life. It's so fun. It's such a fun script. We did it for you, Bob. Bob, you heard it one time when we were rehearsing it. We did it late.
Yeah. I saw. I remember. I actually saw some. You showed me some clips too, I think, from the web series as well.
But it's just a two-hander between Trev and I. So it's just pop, 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 really quick dialogue, really funny dialogue. Essentially, Trev hires me to kill someone, but I'm not really a professional hitman, and so I botch it. And then the rest of the play is us trying to figure out what to do to pick up pieces. But in the live show, like 2 minutes, literally after the first scene, the lights go down in a blackout. I go to run off screen and run off stage and then come out to start the second scene out a different entrance. And on the way out in the dark, I smoked my head. I don't know if I have a scar.
You have a scar.
Yeah, I think I have a scar. I don't know if that's the right side. I can't tell. But I definitely have a scar. And it was, and then we were bleeding. I was bleeding. But imagine this happened now during COVID. That would have been, none of this would happen during all this, I guess. But so then I come out in the next scene. But what was supposed to happen, the weird thing about it was this weird Inception thing where I was supposed to be in scene 2. I was supposed to be coming back from the botched assassination attempt.
Right.
And I had been stabbed and I was supposed to be bleeding, except unbeknownst to the audience and sort of unbeknownst to Trev as my co-star was like, I was actually injured and actually bleeding. Trevor, your perspective is probably the best of all, but.
Yeah, because here he comes out and we have dialogue that says like, what happened? Why are you bleeding? And like the lines are like, is that blood? What do you mean it's your blood? And like, meanwhile, we rehearsed it 101 times or more, and he's coming out, and like there's like wetness on his face, and like dripping, and it's gonna get on me, and I'm like, I'm trying to stay on my lines, and like we talked about speed, we talked about going for it, like all my training coming back, like so I'm going for it, but on the back of my head, it's creeping ever forward. It's just that's real, and he's bleeding out, and like he's dabbing it with his hat and stuff, and I'm like, we're going to go for it. We're going for it.
And I remember...
And it made the dialogue so ironically hilarious.
I remember being backstage and Trevor... Because I was backstage. I only had like one scene in the whole thing. It was mainly about those two guys. And Trevor and Lars comes... Well, Lars comes back in and he goes, yeah, we've got real blood. We've got real blood. And I went, what do you mean we've got real blood? But this isn't good. I don't know if I've got the insurance for this shit. You know what I mean? Like... We've got real blood. We've got real blood. And he goes, I'll be fine. And he just dabs the real blood on his prop shirt where it's meant to have prop blood. And he's just dabbing it. And he goes, I'm good. He goes back out there. And of course, it just swells up. And people are like, wow, the effects are amazing. Like,
yeah, you must have an amazing makeup department back there to get that giant bruise on his face so fucking fast. That's awesome.
Yeah, they said that
too. Is that we had a rehearsal shirt full of blood that had the same look to it every time. And so I knew what the blood shirt looked like. And so when it came out and it wasn't the blood rehearsal shirt, I was like, why is there so much more blood on the blood rehearsal shirt? Oh, no, wait. It's you bleeding on it right now.
Yeah, and I just recall the the interval, because we were doing one show and then we had an interval of like 45 minutes and then we were doing another show. And I recall the interval thinking, I can't send Lars back out there if he's actually in pain. And Lars, fair play to you. Trevor stitched you up, did a little job with a plaster. You put some ice on. I actually have that on video, and I'm editing it as we speak. You guys looking after each other. And then you were like, yeah, I'm ready to go again. I was like, fair play to you, you know?
I can't wait to see that. Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of the show must go on. I mean, I felt like an idiot. It was what I did was unsafe. I just went too fast. The stage, it was the first time I'd performed there. The blackout was a little darker than I thought it was than it was in rehearsal. But it was dumb. But I didn't feel like I was like too fucked up. I looked like I got the shit beat out of me though. It's the worst.
Yeah, people are a lot tougher than you give them credit for. You can take a serious fucking beating and still pretty much function. I mean, I know because I've been hurt a number of times. And it's amazing what you can accomplish, like even just on a simple job site. Like I've been hitting the face with a 2x4, you know, and some of the, you know, I mean, we're talking absolutely classic, like Three Stooges bullshit. You know, someone turns around with a board on their shoulder and you take it right in the face and end up like laying down on the floor for a little while going, like wondering whether or not you're going to spit chiclets. But after a few minutes, you get back up and it's like, all right, fine. You go back to work, even though your lip is all split and you look like a fucking freak, but you're okay, you know?
It's adrenaline at that point. I remember that's a good point, Bob, because Lars, his adrenaline was just pumping, and even though his face was pretty bad, I mean, it was almost, was it to the bone? Was it almost?
Oh yeah, it was definitely to the bone. It was to the. I don't know where. I feel. I wish I could see it. I can't tell.
Because like partway through the scene in the first one, it was the welt was raising out of the side of his head. It went from like being nothing to me being able to like see something.
The contour.
Yeah, it was a goose egg.
I could watch it grow.
Yeah, it was like here and growing throughout the performance too.
Not
and
so much
like
fear, not so much
to me, it felt throbbing.
Every time someone talks about that triggers the same memory of this guy at work falling down the front stairs and at the Monarch. And we had these really thick wooden doors at the Monarch, like maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick. And he hit the door with his head. And he's a bald guy, sort of like you, Chris, only much less attractive and intelligent. Anyway,
thank you.
No, welcome. He smashed his head on this door. And at first I thought he was dead. Like he was half in, half out the door. And his feet are doing that, like, you know, that little twitchy, like, and I'm like, oh no, brain injury. But he came around and was okay. He was sitting at the bottom of the stairs. And while I was watching him, the motherfucker turned into a unicorn. Like right there in the center of his forehead. It was a little red spot. Then it went.
Like a cartoon.
Till literally it stood out like almost 2 inches off his fucking head. Like he was a unicorn, you know? And man, from that point, that same guy is a friend of my he's a friend of my staff. He's a friend of the bar. So whenever he comes in now, I just sort of follow him around. When he's like, oh, I think I'm going to leave. I'm like, okay. And I just sort of conveniently end up in the staircase in front of him, walking very slowly. Because I figure I fill the whole stairwell, and if he falls, he'll just hit me, and that's not so bad. I'm serious. I thought he was going to die. I really did. I thought he was. He sat there for 20 minutes, like on the bottom step, sort of weaving in and out of consciousness. And then finally, my buddy drove him to the hospital. Yeah, he had a concussion, but he wasn't like that fucked up. But yeah, I'm serious. Like he hit a horn. And I was every time someone mentions like a black eye, and I've seen a few of those in my time too, but that was the one time I saw a massive contusion, you know, like it was definitely like.
Yeah, I recall a story when I was younger, actually. I was about 15, 16, and I remember I was in school, and one of my friend's brother got in a fight. He was a year above us in school, and he got in a fight with someone a year above him. And they went, what happened was, it was mob mentality. You went to a room to watch this fight that was going to happen. And it was pretty horrible, right? So we went, and first thing first was the guy who was older than him, my friend's brother. The guy who was older than him held out his hand to shake his hand and said, listen, we're not going to fight. It's okay, no worries. And as soon as he held out his hand, he swung him and hit him in the face right there. The guy went back, fell over, was out. I wasn't in the room at the time, but I heard this story. And I remember seeing him like the next day, and his whole face on one side was out to here. And that was when I knew, listen, I don't want to be getting in any fights. I don't want to be getting hit, because it was just huge. Yeah,
I've seen that. I've seen a lot. Man, I've seen some shit that would just, I don't know. If I didn't
you're a bouncer.
If I didn't have a stronger stomach, I don't know how I do the job that I have. I've seen some fucking horrifying shit. So you just don't unsee. You know, the kind of injuries where it's like, wow, that's really crazy. That's just crazy. And you think to yourself, I haven't seen anything that crazy. You probably never will. And then like 2 weeks later, you see something else. You're like, nope, that was fucking crazier. And it just sort of goes like that. Your whole career turns into a series of milestones of, wow, that's fucking crazier than the last fucking thing I fucking saw.
Well, you know what? I was talking to a friend of mine who's a bouncer up here, and he stopped doing it. And I asked him why he stopped. And he said, it's because people, you know, it's a bit dodgy in some of the areas that he works in. And then it's not the fact that someone kicks off straight away. It's the fact that someone gets pissed off enough that they say, you know, I'll be back. And then they go away, and he has to fucking think about that the next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You get to this weird state. Where, you know, I guess most people in their daily lives would take death threats really seriously. Like if someone just walked, if you were at like, you know, Becker's or something buying a fucking quart of milk and a pack of smokes, and some fucker walked up to you and was like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. You'd be kind of like, you'd be weirded out. Yeah. But the thing is, bouncers, we hear that shit like 2 or 3 times a week. You know, someone's, and you never know. I mean, and it's true, guys have come back. I mean, I'm still here, so obviously that was kind of a hollow threat, but guys have come back. So yeah, it does. It rests on your mind. You do have to, you develop this sort of mentality of like living for the day.
Jesus.
You know? It can be very strange. It's strange.
It's kind of a weird thing to say, like to step up and be like, you better watch it, buddy. I'm going to fucking kill you. And to not come back. Like, if you're going to say that, you need to come back and kill the guy, right?
Well, yeah,
like,
except that's the thing, Lars. 9 out of 10 fucking times, the guy, the reason he says it is because 3 giant dudes have just picked him up and tossed him out the door.
Right.
He's totally impotent. He has no power whatsoever to do it. But he has to try and save face somehow. He's got to be tough on the way out the door. So he's like, "You're fucking dead, man. You're fucking dead." And then he like runs down the street. "You're fucking dead. You're fucking dead. You're fucking dead." He got,
It's the same guys that always yell, "My dad's a lawyer. You're fucking dead. He's gonna sue your ass."
No, that's a different type of guy. Same attitude, but I know exactly that type too. "You don't know who my father is. He works for important people." Turns out the guy owns like a used Buick dealership in like Minnesota or something. It's like, "Go fuck yourself. I don't care who your dad works for."
Yeah.
You know who my dad works? You know who my dad works for? He's self-employed. You're in trouble, boys. Like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? That shit's so fucking petty. I was writing some content for our webpage and stuff, and a lot of the sayings and isms I use there are just thoughts that run through my head on a constant basis while I'm at work. Like, one of the thoughts I have all the time is when people say out loud to me, "Do you know who I am?" What I always hear instead is, "Don't you know who I think I am?" Like, I automatically edit that because, yeah, I know who you are. You're some loudmouth drunken bozo at my bar who's 2 seconds away from earning an hour or 2 in traction a day, to straighten out that spinal problem I've given you. That's who you are. You're nobody, really.
Do people still say that shit? Like, in my head, that was something from like 20 years ago that people would say. And if you say it, you just must, everyone's going to look at you like you're a fool. But people still say that.
Right. Yeah, because you're like, yeah, I know exactly who you are. I follow you on Instagram, buddy. I see you all the time. I tag you.
It's like, it's like having a vanity license plate or something that's an inside joke. You're just a tool. It's one of those key signs. You're probably a douchebag,
Yeah. It just seems like something someone would say in a movie or something. If someone said that, I'd be like, "Oh, where's Ashton? We're getting punked. What's going on? This must be a reality TV show because it's ridiculous."
Like, it's too cliche of a thing to say. I saw a promo for Masterclass, and the writer Aaron Sorkin, what do you write? The Facebook movie, and he writes
A Few Good Men, I think.
Yeah, maybe does he write West Wing or
yes.
The news show or whatever? His thing was, it was a short snippet, and he was like, "No one in real life ever starts a sentence with 'damn it.'" That was his writing tip. It was like, no one ever says "damn it" to start a sentence. I was like, okay.
"Oh, damn it."
Yeah.
How am I going to figure out the rest of my novel?
I don't even use that word.
Right.
It'd be just fuck,
Yeah. Exactly.
Just go to the good stuff. Just take the hard stuff down at the shelf right away. Just fuck it.
Straight away. Speaking of hard stuff, Bob, are you drinking whiskey out of the bottle?
I am, yes.
I have to respect you for that.
I often do. I mean, I have a cocktail going on as well, but I was sort of like, fuck it. I'll just drink the last of it out of the bottle because I don't feel like mixing any more beverages.
Let's raise it up. Let's have a toast here, everybody. Raise them up to the center here. Raise them up.
It's a cup of tea.
We'll be cheersing Big Bob bourbon and Big Bob beer, but until then,
right. For listeners and viewers, one of our goals here, we're working on a beer sponsor and a hard liquor sponsor, and we'd like to brand it Big Bob Beer and Big Bob Bourbon. So we're looking for names. We
got names. We're coming for you.
We're
coming for you, breweries.
I'm working with some Canadian Club. As you guys know, I don't normally drink on the shows very often. A lot of times I'm
you don't actually.
This is like the birthday podcast show. I'm a little offended, Chris, that you're drinking.
I was going to say, should I just get a whiskey? I'm going to get one.
I actually got whiskey because I was like,
one. Just all
like, Chris will probably have whiskey, so I'll be able to connect with Irish Chris. Trev, who knows what Trev, any given day, you could have, who knows, you could have gin, you could have vodka, you could have whiskey, you could have bourbon, you could have
Woodford.
Nice.
Yes.
This is we should go back. We should take a couple minutes for some nostalgic, some thoughts on the 39th episode. We always thought about raise them up. Here we go. Cheers them up. Cheers them up.
Post,
Thank you,
post,
sir.
post.
Thank you to the listeners. Thank you to the viewers. Sheps, our new super fan. He's president of the fan club.
That's right.
We'll hop him on later. We got Mike Pearson in the house. We'll have Mike on later
What?
as well.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So this is your 39th one, and I know you guys started this, and I remember when you did. I think I was working in Toronto in the bar. How did you guys meet Bob, or have you been through that story? You must have been through it a million times.
Well,
but it's a great story.
Episode, so go ahead. Who needs?
How about some nostalgia?
Give me a short-ish version of it if you want.
We were all cast in a Princess Bride live theater / very much like Taylor, like your show, where it was multimedia. It was called The Movie Experience with a show called Secret Sessions.
Right.
And they did Princess Bride, where they would show the movie and then the movie would pause and then live actors would come out and act the scenes exactly like in the movie. Trevor was the lead. I'm spacing on his name right now.
The Dread Pirate Rabbits
Wesley.
there.
Yeah, Wesley and Dread Pirates. Bob obviously was Fezzik, and I played Miracle Max. I was in like old
Miracle Man. Yeah, Bob was the princess, phenomenal. Obviously.
Yeah, that's right. You should have seen the dresses they made for me. It was
beautiful. You should have seen the scenes when we were rehearsing. Ooh la la, hot stuff.
Seriously?
And so, shout out New York's in the house. We'll get to New York here. My brother Chris just popped on there. We'll bring it back on. We'll get a report. Welcome. Raise them up. Toast them up here.
Thank you.
If this was a live show at a bar like back in the day at 39 at 1830, we'd all be cheersing and drinking.
Social distance.
Yeah.
Social distance.
So yeah, I've got a nostalgic thought. It was really funny. When we first started this project off, I was kind of a babe in the woods with the whole thing. I guess in many respects I still am, but that's not really an issue now here and there. But I remember getting involved with these guys and thinking, man, I'm in a bit over my head here. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just going to tell stories and talk to people. And I guess I'm pretty good at that. So we'll just carry on and see the best we can do with it. Right. But as we did more and more and more episodes, I started finding myself, none of that even mattered anymore. I was just having such a good fucking time, telling these stories, partying with these guys, sharing the world of my own personal madness with everyone in the interworld. And just kind of really growing accustomed and acclimatized to once a week having this kind of soapbox bandstand testimonials of our drunken, fucked up, afterworld dark side lives. And I thought that's really cool, and discussions have gone from the most vanilla subjects you can possibly imagine to like, Taiwanese enema products purchased by our strange friends abroad and stuff like this. It's everything and it's everywhere, and I hate to say that because it sounds so cliched, but it's got a little bit of something for anybody who has a little bit of fun in their soul. You've ever been out and had a few too many to drink, or talked to a fucking buddy about, that time we got that high, and and those conversations happen all the time. But it's great to sort of share this as a collective, to have this like tapped into this social network of people who are all kind of sharing these moments together. I think that's pretty neat. That's kind of a unique thing that these times have allowed us. So that's what I think about when asked, like, nostalgically, to think back on 39 episodes that we've done and all the work we've put into it. For me, it's just a fantastic expression of self and a freeing environment to share all these ideas. So I think that's really cool. And anyways, that's what I think about.
I personally think I would second that, but I would also say that you guys started a podcast before everyone decided to start a podcast during the pandemic. Do you know what I mean? A year ago, you guys had to put the work in when it might have not been a popular or trendy thing to do. I mean, it was pretty popular.
Oh my God. But it wasn't like what it is now. Yeah, you're right.
That's
funny. In the cliche wave.
Wow. I never thought of that until right now when you bring that up, that like, you started your podcast during the pandemic. Like we were doing podcasts before everyone was sick.
Yeah.
Before everyone was born enough to just do their own thing.
What a dubious fucking milestone that is. Like, we're pre-COVID trendy, motherfuckers. Like, that's awesome.
Right. I always think it's interesting with projects like this to think back, like the inception and how the form changes. Like Bob's just started telling us stories before and after rehearsals. And then Trevor and I were like, man, we should turn this into some kind of series. But then we started to have writers' meetings. But
Just
Trev's
the pictures.
showing pictures. That's me as
Yeah.
Miracle Max. Wow.
Jesus,
Nice.
look at you.
Yeah.
We're just gonna shout out to this mid-story here.
I Benjamin Buttoned back reverse. I've aged well.
I hope so, because if that's you, you don't look great there, mate. You look like you had a few sleepless nights.
They did an amazing makeup job. That scene was so fun.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Oh, just then we started doing these as we wanted to figure out a way to flush out all of Bob's crazy stories. So we started to just meet at the bar. We actually met at what's it called? What's it called? What's the bar, Trev, where we first?
Jasper Dandies.
Jasper Dandies.
Jasper
Yeah,
Dandies.
Jasper Dandies.
Closed now, isn't it?
Who knows if it'll even be open after this? But
I think is it not? I think it was closed anyway. I think it's closed down. Maybe I'm wrong.
Really? Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
we started there, and so we would be like, tell us the crazy story about a drunken disorderly, and Bob would start going, and we would record it on our phone, and then take notes, and then immediately we're like, what are we doing? This is a podcast right now. So then we just started podcasting. We did a couple at Laughing Vikings. Remember the very first one we did was in the middle of a crazy blizzard, and we almost canceled it because we were like, this is dumb. Everything's closed down.
We still have the event on Facebook. Like, it's an event that doesn't exist anymore, and it says like, hey, like, there's a crazy blizzard out there, but we're still going ahead. So, like, shout out to us for keeping it going ahead.
Right.
No, I remember that. I remember coming in for the podcast and thinking, holy shit, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to get out of here. It was like I took a cab partway through this like fucking 2 feet of snow and like slush up to my ankle and stuff. This is nuts.
I just remember thinking, if we don't do it, I don't know when we're ever going to do it, because we had to wrangle all of us, plus a cameraman, a sound guy, a few audience members. So I was like, if we don't start this tonight, I don't know if we're ever going to start it. We need to do it.
So I went to a comedy show with Lars. That was one of the episodes. That wasn't one of the first, was it?
That was really early on.
That was number 3. We started. We did 2 at Laughing Vikings. Then we went to 1830 downtown Toronto.
It's 1830. That's where I was.
We did like 21 or 22, and then we did back at Laughing Vikings, and then we've done like number 32 in isolation or whatever this is.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
and then what? Go ahead.
I was flashing pictures here.
I'm going nostalgia. So speaking of nostalgia, this is us on the red carpet 1 year at TIFF, and we were getting it all hyped up, and it was Stay Tuned at the time.
Oh, yeah, all we had right there was like that picture on our Instagram profile. I remember.
That was everywhere.
Yeah. Finally, we have content. Like, it's a thing, you know.
I remember that party really vividly too. I remember going to this party and being like, "Oh, I'm going to a TIFF party. What the fuck's this going to be like?" And we went in and I started strolling around and just immediately walking up to random people and just kicking off conversations. And within 10 or 15 minutes, I was standing in this like group of total strangers, like 15 people standing around, just shooting the breeze. And I was like, this is great. Who are these people? And Lars is like, do you know who these people are? I'm like, I have no idea who I'm talking to. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what's going on.
Oh, and that party is like the mixing of mixology of mixing, party mixing. Like you said, you'll be surrounded all of a sudden with 10 people. Like, imagine that now. Jesus. Like,
where was it? Where was the party?
It's at
Citizen.
Yeah, at the Citizen, and it's Oldfield Agency's Young Filmmakers Party. So it's like all up and coming actors and filmmakers, mostly a lot of locals, like mostly Toronto people. But you go and then it's just everyone that you've worked on stuff, everyone you see in audition rooms, cast, crews, and everyone's partying and having fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. That was really cool night.
And it's packed. It's during TIFF. And it probably isn't going to happen this year. So
no, it's not. I mean, I remember going to a party when I first came over here for TIFF 2016 or 17. I can't remember. And it was just great. Like it was just the energy surrounding TIFF every year. It's definitely one of the world's best film festivals, I think, because all the bars fill up all around it. You know what I mean? Whereas a lot of festivals around the world, they kind of keep it contained to its own little area.
Yeah, the Monarch Tavern where I work downtown at College in Clinton, they very often during TIFF we get our extended license, so we stay open till 4 a.m. and fucking, party hard through the entire TIFF season, and that's pretty cool too.
When I was working during one one of the tips. Same thing, extended license. And if you're giving the city an extended license, then you're broadening the party. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool. Most cities definitely don't do that.
Part of me kind of hates extended license. I actually kind of despise it, and it's not for any particular reason, except that I think that Toronto has a really immature drinking culture, and most people just can't handle those extra hours. They just can't. They're too fucked up when they get there already, let alone, drinking till 4. They just can't handle it.
It's like St. Patrick's Day all over again, yeah.
Oh, Christ. The four worst fucking days for a bouncer are St. Patrick's Day, Halloween, New Year's, and fucking, what's the other one that's really shit?
Did you say Halloween?
I said Halloween, St. Patrick's Day, New Year's. And I don't know. There's one other day that's usually pretty bad. I can't remember what it is. Like it's right near when everyone goes back to school. Like the weekend before all the college kids go back in is usually a piece of shit too.
Whereas for bartenders, it's beautiful. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, you serve up all the drinks, and then the bouncers have to deal with all the problems.
Scrape the assholes off the fucking floor. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's not even that, though. It's not even that. It's the attitudes that people have because of the holidays. Like, for example, on Halloween, everyone dresses up, and it makes them think they're somebody else. Like they're incognito or something, and they can do whatever they want because no one's going to know them, right?
That's right.
And on St. Patrick's Day, everyone has this idiotic belief that they've all become, alcohol drinking superstars all of a sudden. They can handle their body weight in tequila no matter what the fuck's going on, and that's not true. And then New Year's, it's like people get this license to be arrogant assholes. Like, well, can't you see I put my suit on and I want to drink champagne until I puke in the cab? Like, fuck you, pal. And it's just arrogance, right?
Yeah, no, those definitely are three of the amateur hour nights.
Absolutely, man. That's a great way to describe it. I use that term a lot myself. Amateur hour. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? This is such bullshit. Like, please, just fuck right off.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that Paddy's Day was cancelled over here, though. Like, this year, It was literally locked down the day before St. Patrick's Day, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I was devastated.
Well, there was a lot of stories saying that the Irish they weren't going to care. They were going to, it was...
Well, the Irish were one of the first to do it. So, like, what happened was when I saw in Ireland, someone posted a thing of Temple Bar that showed people were still in the pubs. And then there was another picture the next day. The pubs were empty because they locked down the pubs. They closed all the pubs. And that's when I knew, if you're closing the pubs in Ireland for St. Patrick's Day, you're closing the pubs in the world for St. Patrick's Day.
Shit is getting crazy, yeah.
That's right.
It's as serious as it gets, yeah.
That's basically the litmus test that guarantees whether or not you're going to be open or not, for sure.
I knew. When I saw that, I was like, we're all done. We're closing up.
Yeah, what's Ireland doing?
The Irish close the pubs, and then you look to your right, and then there's just the 4 horsemen trotting by.
Yeah, very much like that. And speaking of closed pubs, that one down below you, like when I first came to Toronto, when I first moved to Canada, that was a pub, like a bar I used to go to late at night on the weekends. I used to go there all the time. I remember my mate works there, and I worked in a pub down the road. And it was mad. It was busy all the time, and it's a shame they opened the second place and they struggled a bit, and now this one's just closed. You know?
You're speaking of Prohibition Gastro Pub right beneath me at Laughing Vikings, which is like Queen and Broadview in Toronto, and it was a great place. The food was great. It was really good vibes. Trevor, they always did a great job on sporting event. Like everything about it was good. And
late night was good as well. They
were really great at retrofitting themselves for any occasion, really. And like they had curtains that they would section off the place. Their lighting would change. They had TVs. Like they even had a portion of time where you could download an app and like play music videos, like old music videos on the TV, like nostalgia stuff like that. So, but then it was a club on the weekends. Like it was interesting.
It was a good small bar-y club place on the weekend to go in the East End of Toronto. Like it was one of those places that like you'd be like Friday night. We'll probably end up there, you know?
Yeah, it's 9-10 years by now. When I moved, well, maybe more. When I moved here, 6-7 years ago to this neighborhood, and it was here, and it had been here for one of the longest serving bars. Like everyone pointed to it as an example of how to maintain a business.
Yeah, I was there for quite a while because I lived in that neighborhood 20 years ago, just over on Salter Street, the other side of the Opera House there. I also know that neighborhood quite well. I grew up in that area in East Toronto. That was my childhood haunt all the way around through that neighborhood. And they weren't always there, but they were definitely there for a good 10, 15 years, easy. And
Yeah.
I respect the conviction and efficiency with which they chose to pull shoot and just be done. Like, they didn't waste any time. They were just like, oh, we're going to be closed for we don't know how long. We're done. Like, he was just like, I'm not going to bleed money.
Well, that is the thing in the back of my mind. That's like, maybe there's a chance that, like, when everything gets back going, there's subsidies for businesses that can prove they didn't lose enough and that they can start up again. So maybe that he pulled out early means he can start up again. Who knows?
I'm not that level of businessman, but I feel like he just takes that company, declares bankruptcy, or does whatever he does to fold it, and then he starts a new one and starts a new venture when he's able to somewhere else, if that's a thing, or goes into another business. I saw him one day, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm just not gonna bleed money. So we'll see what's next. Like, it sucks, but whatever." I had to make a call.
Do you guys remember the bar, that small little speakeasy sort of bar up the road that's now a comedy club? What was it called?
It was Bill Hicks.
Bill Hicks.
It was Bill Hicks Bar, which is a famous comedian, beloved comedian, and it wasn't a comedy club. But it was this super cool bar, really eclectic, narrow stairs up to the top, tiki bar inside, retro tabletop video game, like Pac-Man game.
And it was like red and like glazed over white lights everywhere, like small lights. Like, it was that weird
album covers, kind of like Trev's backdrop there, but album covers everywhere, music, a little bit of comedy.
Wall to wall album covers. Yeah.
I don't think I ever went in there. What block was that on?
It's basically
you were taking up half the joint.
Queen and Booth, I think it was.
Basically across from Leslieville Pumps area, right by Queen and Carlaw. Now it's Corner Comedy Club. Shout out to Joe, Corner Comedy. Joe has 2 locations. I don't know his status, but Corner Comedy has one right downtown where the old Speaker's Corner was, right by Queen and John.
Right.
Some of the best comedy shows. Paul Thompson, one of our past guests, does a lot of shows there. And
very funny. Very funny.
Thing. And then, he had this location. Super cool.
I lived in a house full of Irish lads, literally around the corner from that. And it would be...
Carlaw.
Yeah, just near Queen and Carlaw, Eastern and Carlaw.
The Irish house, as we might call it, because I was there probably... You invited me to a barbecue there, and I got there and I went... Yeah, I was here about 2.5, 3 years ago, and it was all Irish lads.
Yeah.
You had like a drunk recollection, and
because I went to St. Patty's Day there with my bartender Rory, and he was like, "Oh, come over to my gaff. We'll show you how to fucking do it."
So Rory was there before I was there. It was basically a house 5, 6, 7 years ago that Irish lads came in. And we've been grandfathered in. I'm not there anymore. Obviously, I'm in Hamilton. But the lads have been grandfathered in, Irish lads. And I remember I was grandfathered in, and it was like 4 Irish lads. And then eventually some Irish lads would leave and more Irish lads would come in. And it'd be a house of 4 or 5 Irish lads at all times. And Bill Hicks Bar was around the corner. And I remember going into Bill Hicks and sitting at the bar, and Teddy, I think his name was serving me, and he just makes up the prices. He just pops the bottle off and he goes, "That'll be $2.76." You know what I mean? Just makes it up. And he'd give me a beer, and he was sound. And then I remember one of my ex-employers came in and said, "Here, does anyone want a job? I hear someone's looking for a job." Like, and he got me work, like literally within 6, 7 days, and that's how I stayed. Because if I hadn't got work, I wouldn't have been able to stay on. And so Bill Hicks being there at the right place at the right time kind of saved me, really, I suppose.
It was like that too. It was a bit of a hub spot. Like, you would go there either at the beginning of the night or at the end of the night and see what the crack was, like see who was doing what.
He used to bartend with his shirt off as well. Like, he'd be just like his top.
Bartending was unorthodox, to say the least.
Yeah, he was a bit of a legend around town anyway, from my memory.
My favorite thing about it is you would never know when it would be open. You would go there and it would be locked, or it would be open. Every once in a while, there'd be like a sign on the door that would be like, "Gone till August." and you'd be like, okay, let's check back in August. And yeah.
Yeah. I think that's how
it always felt like a
closed
secret
eventually.
party. Like, yeah, like, oh, we found something. Like, ooh.
Right. Yeah. It always felt like you were somewhere that was closed, but in a cool way. Like you were the
Right,
VIP,
right.
and it was kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
lower
It had
bar.
that personal edge to it, that family touch
Well, and
almost.
I think he was notorious for locking the door.
Right. So
After 2.
it always had an after party vibe, which is interesting because if you're listening or watching the show, something that we're going to start doing is Bob's going to put out some written word. We're going to put some survival tips and some guides and some little mini courses. It's like Big Bob University. Why don't you tell us about the one that you're posting? It's not on the site yet, but if you're watching this live, but if you're listening to this, you get it. We'll figure it out. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, so once we get sorted out, piloting the TARDIS back and forth through our alternate timelines, those of you at home will be able to check out the website and find some of the written work that I'm putting up. Essentially, I'm giving you the Barstool bachelor's degree in any one of a number of fields. I'm willing to discuss just about anything, but I've been talking about survival tips, just basically dark side etiquette for going to booze cans, enjoying yourself, having a good time. Also, a little bit of a tips and pointers guide for fisticuffs and violence, how to survive that as well. I'm calling the series so far just a working title, the 39 DD Survival Guide series. And it'll cover every single topic that I think is pertinent to enjoying the nightlife and to enjoying the I guess the shadier elements of urban living.
I'll tease a few of these, but of course, if you're watching or listening this, go to hook us up on Facebook or on Instagram, and it'll be the link. The link will be in the bio. Tip number 1: tips to survive the after party, the dark side. The doorman is your ally. Be nice. It pays dividends. I like it.
Simple shit like that,
Then there's another one. You will see things in the gloom that will surprise you.
Well, yeah, that's a fact. You don't get stories like mine without seeing a few things in the shade just drifting by that kind of either haunt you or surprise you. You know what I mean? So trust me, you will.
If the party gets raided, do not panic. Just leave. It's not a crime to be there. I like that one.
It's true. I don't know how many times I've seen people, they see the cops, they freak out, oh my God, the cops are here, the cops are here, the cops are here. I'm like, yeah, just go.
And tip number 39, again, we're just teasing a few. You want all 39 of these, you got to go to the websites and you can download Bob's guide, these survival tips, and keep looking out for these too. It says, overindulgence often ends in humiliation in the early morning streets. That's wise right there.
That is very wise. I've probably lived through that.
Have you had some humiliating morning street moments that you want to share?
Yeah, definitely. Like definitely. I've got too many to probably think of. It's early morning and you're chatting to someone about setting up a business, and then you hear the birds chirp and you realize this is all nonsense.
Right.
My absolute favorite shit is you're standing on the street corner and you've still got that can of beer in your hand. You're taking that last slug out of like the most natural thing in the world, and you look down and there are like school children in their uniforms standing next to you, looking up at you as you weeble and wobble on the corner, and you realize it's like 9 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, and you really shouldn't be where you are. It's just like, uh-oh.
A Tuesday as well. It's Tuesday, like not the beginning of the week, just sort of the middle beginning, the worst day.
Yeah. Or also, you fall asleep drunk on the streetcar or something, and you wake up and it's just packed with people going to work, and you're just trying to get home to throw up and fall asleep. Yeah. That's the weirdest. And you immediately think that everyone is watching you. They all know somehow. And maybe that's just because you're way too high and sketchy. And you're like, oh, everyone knows. And you're like, you just have freaking out. That's what I mean by that. Those shameful morning moments. I also woke up sitting on.
I always used to try to run home for the birds. Like I used to live in North Toronto, and you'd be leaving the party at 3:30 or something, and you're like running home, and like you're on the 5th block, and you're just like tweet. You're like, no.
I feel like I feel like every guy's had a phase in his life where he's just decided to run home from a party.
Because you don't even want to be in bed. You just want to have slept and wake up the next day.
Right.
You just want to have erased it from your brain, Men in Black style. You know what I mean? Just gone.
Yeah, you go home, pop out your pocket neuralizer, and just cook off what's left of your brain cells because you're done with it.
Yeah.
So this podcast obviously started out a long time ago, and this is episode 39 now. But it started just as Bob's stories. It was basically me and Trev asking questions about Bob's life, and then Bob telling us details, and we would just marvel at the outrageousness of it. And then we've evolved a little bit. People were always like, well, what happens at 39? And it was never a plan that Bob only ever had 39 stories, but he did technically only have 39 drunken disorderlies. But for every drunken disorderly charge that he has had, he's had the rest of the iceberg below in crazy stories.
Yeah.
So it was never our intention to only have 39 of them, but the name 39 Drunken Disorderly was kind of catchy. But we always thought, we were like, we want to have guests on and have them tell their crazy fucked up stories. So was there anything in particular that you wanted to highlight? I know you've sort of told some of them, but Chris?
Yeah, I suppose there's a couple. I mean, when I first thought about this coming on, I was thinking, what stories do I have? And there are a few, and there's a few that have to just be buried deep down for the sake of people I know. So,
and for yourself, just to move on.
Yeah, I'm pretty honest and open. I'll talk about pretty much about anything. It's just in my head, I was like, oh, because that connects to that person. I'll just bury.
These names have all been altered for the sake of anonymity, and we're just trying to protect. I often say this disclaimer occasionally during the stories. I'm like, I never promised that all these stories were true, just in case. Because frankly, like some of the things I have talked about are pretty outrageous and could still almost, be considered crimes. So it's like, okay, well, maybe I should talk about that in third persons if it was actually there.
If everyone digs deep enough, they've all got skeletons in their closet. I'm pretty honest about them. I just don't want to lift the vault up on any of my mates. But there's a couple of stories I have that are not as crazy, but I thought were quite interesting. And I recalled one night specifically in Dublin when I was a young pup. I was about 19 years old. And I remember driving into town with a friend of mine, and we'd sort of tried to round up about 4 or 5 people to come out on a night out with us, and none of the key players had stepped up, and it was just the two of us. And I remember thinking, this guy who was a friend of mine, I remember thinking he's a bit of a loose cannon, but I thought, you know what, we're in it together, I'm with him, we're going in. And we queued up to a pretty swanky club, and when we got to the top of the queue, Bob will attest to this, sometimes people just don't look right.
No.
And it wasn't me that looked wrong. Apparently, he didn't look right. It was. He looked a bit sketchy, and he just. I don't know what it was. I think maybe he was wearing tracksuit top or something. He just wasn't allowed in. So the bouncer told him to stand aside, and I remember knowing that could be a trigger in his mind. And my friend didn't push the bouncer or do anything. But Bob, I mean, what would happen if someone sort of just put their hand on you?
I'd probably break their fingers.
There you go. So my friend,
no touching.
So my friend just sort of put his hand out on him and goes, okay, I'm leaving, but just wanted to like make sure the bouncer knew he was there. And I was thinking, oh, fucking hell, here we go. Bouncer picked him up, chucked him onto the ground in the street. He slid along the ground almost like a cartoon. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I picked my mate up off the ground and I go, listen, we got to get the fuck out of here. Like, let's just go home. It's a write-off. Let's move on. So we get in a taxi. And in the front seat of the taxi is the taxi driver and my friend. I'm in the back thinking, I'm kind of happy this night's over, to be honest, but not in that way. And my mate's just talking in the front seat of the taxi driver, just going, ranting and raving. We're only a block or two down, and my mate's going, look, that bouncer, he shouldn't have thrown me on the ground. He had no fucking right to do that. And of course, the taxi driver, I'm thinking, is going to go, kick us out of the taxi, or calm my friend down. Instead, the taxi driver turns to my friend and says, "You go get him."
Oh, shit.
So he pulls up at the lights, tells my friend to go get it. My friend gets out of the car. I go, thanks a million, buddy. Cheers for that. You're not getting a fucking tip. You know what I mean? I give him a 5 or a 10 or whatever it is. I get out. We're on our way back. And I'm just following my friend who's just on a mission. He walks straight into a convenience store, as you guys call it over here. I just call it the shop. Grabs a 6-pack of eggs. And I'm thinking, oh fucking hell, what? Not even gonna. What's he gonna do here? We walk up to the queue, and I say, "Listen, mate, I'm not with you here, but I'm loyal, so I'll stay. If you're gonna do it, just fucking do it. Just keep me out of it, right?" And I thought he was gonna throw the eggs over the top of the queue and hit the bouncer or something. Walks past the queue, straight to the top, and just throws the entire thing of eggs at the bouncer. Hits the bouncer. My friend goes running, and I'm thinking, oh, shit, he's fucked up here. I start running. I look back, and my friend, once again, flat in his face, trips like a cartoon, falls flat in his face and starts sliding. Bouncer grabs his jacket, pulls it off him. My mate wriggles away and books it to me, and we get in a taxi, and it's the same taxi driver as picked us up before. He just done a little loop around the city, picked us up. It was the exact same taxi driver. And I was like, thanks a million for that, mate. You just got us into more trouble. So that's one of my drunken disorderly stories. It's a bit tame, but it's just one that I remember specifically.
I love that. That's great.
That's some great images though with the sliding.
It's true. And the thing is, it was all true. I think he was an asshole for doing that to the bouncer because the bouncer didn't really do anything wrong. The bouncer may have not liked the look of him, but, if you're with your mate, you kind of just stick with them, you know what I mean? And I did that. At the end of the day, he's a good lad. He has a bit of a switch, and I haven't seen him in a few years, unfortunately, but yeah.
I love that your cabbie just decided, like, do it. I'll be the getaway driver.
Yeah, just do him. Just do him. It's okay. I'm sure you'll get away with it.
Just go get him. You go get him. And the fact that because the driver, obviously it's the city of Dublin, he'd obviously just like been circling around. The fact that he saw us and picked us up again was just uncanny. I was like, here we go again. I get in, and the taxi driver's like, good. I'm like, you did nothing for us, mate. You made my mate go back and pretty much assault the bouncer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you cost us a tenner on the way.
Yeah, I've just wasted my night, following around my mate who's even more angry than he was in the beginning. And he's lost his jacket. His jacket's gone,
Oh, yeah, you're not getting that one back either. That's not one of those you walk back to the bouncer, I'm sorry, can I have my jacket? Oh, you're that fucking guy? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no chance. Absolutely no chance.
You just hope that you didn't have a business card or your ID or that your name your name wasn't showing into the jacket.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I can't recall. It's so long ago that I can't recall all the details, but I remember his jacket being gone, and you're right, Bob. He didn't go back and pick it up.
No.
Do you think would he have gotten away if he didn't trip? He just tripped on his own accord?
He was very fast. I remember that. Like, I played sport with him and stuff. He was fast, so he would have easily gotten away. But he tripped, and it was like, I've seen people trip and like sort of, hobble to the ground or like hit themselves hard or sort of keel over. I've never seen someone trip and like in the air, like Superman, flat down on the ground, like that. That was, it was like someone was filming a movie and they were like, look, we're going to do a stunt now. You're going to trip in Superman, It was crazy.
I've only seen that twice in my life, actually, and both times it was my fault.
I think one of the times was in episode 1 when the guy just flew at the cops. Continue, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I've had guys come running at me and jump into the air at me, and I've just stepped out of the way or slapped them to carry their momentum over a little bit. One of the guys I kirked. I wove my hands together, and as he jumped by, I fucking hit him with both hands. So he went kind of from the Superman pose like this to kind of bent, all screwed up and backwards and flying through the air anyway.
Jesus.
So
you hit him out of midair. He was flying through the air, and you just double arm smoked him.
Yeah, he jumped and I kirked him.
Wow, that reminds me of the movie Wedding Crashers when he punches him in the church, and he literally punches him as he's in the air. It's class.
I've seen that. I punched a girl so hard one time she disappeared into the crowd and I couldn't find her.
Jesus Christ.
It was a total accident.
Oh,
That's in one of the episodes too. She fell down as I was punching another guy, and it was just like, two objects flying through three-dimensional space. Her falling this way, my fist coming this way. I didn't see her, and I'm throwing a punch at this guy, and all of a sudden this girl just appears in the frame of focus, and I'm like, no! And I choke off as hard as I can. It doesn't matter. I still hit her, and it's like, bang! And she just disappears, like just gone, like, boom! Jeez. And I'm looking around, and I can't see her. I can't see her anywhere. And there's people fighting. It's a big brawl. And at the end of the night, I'm standing at the doorway, and this girl comes to the door, and she has this huge fucking black eye.
Oh no!
And she says to me, I'm like, I hope your evening wasn't too bad. And she goes, well, yeah, I got a bloody black eye on my fucking birthday. And I said to her, yeah, I guess if you come back, I'll try not to hit you again. And she's like, it was you. And I was like, yeah, it was me. And I fessed up. I explained the whole thing. And she wasn't all that mad. I mean, she was pissed off because she had a huge fucking shiner and stuff. But it wasn't like I fucking went out to punch her. You know what I mean? That wasn't the intent. But
well, if you're in the middle of a brawl and you're a bouncer and it's an accident, then fair play to her for being cool about it. But if it's an accident and she understood, you know what I mean? Like,
well, 20 plus years ago, almost 20 years ago, I guess I fucking bopped a cop in the nose and broke his nose at work. Didn't know he was a cop. Almost got shot for that one.
Jesus Christ.
I was in the middle of it again. I was in the middle of a fucking brawl at work, and the cop came up behind me while I was fighting and grabbed my shoulder, but didn't identify himself. So I just threw an elbow behind me to disengage whoever was grabbing me. I heard the crunch, and the hand let go, and I'm like, perfect. I broke his nose. I'm good. I go back to what I'm doing, and then I hear this. Get down on the fucking ground! Get down on the ground now! And I turn around, there's this cop holding his broken nose, his gun out of his holster, and I was like, woo! Okay.
How have you got to where you are today? With that's just 2 stories? Jesus.
Yeah.
Fair play to you.
It goes on and on and on like that. I mean, it's just absurd.
Yeah.
I realized the other day, just sitting on the edge of my bed in the morning, doing the morning face scrub, when you aren't quite there yet. You're just kind of thinking about your life for a split second, and it's almost transcendental. I realized that it must be very difficult for most people to rationalize when I tell them how weird my life has been, that I'm really not kidding. Like, it's been so fucking weird. It's like bad television from every day of my life. It's just been so weird. And it's become so normal to me that I'm just like, well, it's my life. This is how it is, Like, my best friend called me the other week and was like, yeah, he sort of fell in love with this meth hooker and ended up going down the street to try and meet her and ended up getting mugged by these 2 crackheads in this like burnt out apartment, something out of some post-apocalyptic nightmare movie or something. And that's just the stories people, my friends, just call and tell me. It's like, oh yeah, I had a weird day today. Like some dude pulled a knife on me at work, or just weird shit like that you wouldn't hear in casual conversation. You totally wouldn't expect to be part of your daily lexicon. And I guess that's what the show's all about. It's about the fact that the world is fucking weirder than people who live behind white picket fences and never get out there ever see. It is much weirder than you think it is. It's Hunter S. Thompson weird all the fucking time. We're in backcountry. You know what I mean? It's fucked all the time.
And I suppose that's pretty, even that story you're telling me there about your friend, that's pretty dark, but as you said, it's become normal to you. And even when I just heard you say there that you hit a woman, I was like, fuck, that's bad. But obviously you told me, well, it was a total accident. You know what I mean? But the fact that those stories are normalized to you, that's fucked, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's the tagline for the whole show. 39 Drunk and Disorderlies. Big Bob. It's fucked, but it's interesting.
I'm gonna write that down.
That's great.
I mean, it's real. I mean, it's
great. You should share another quickie. Do we have time for a quickie? Trev, you got time, or what's your time like?
I'm half on the other one here. I'm dipping between 2 calls, but I'm here still.
Shout out. We should shout out. It's our buddy. You've seen him on past episodes. He was on Big Bad Bouncer, and he was in a recent COVID episode. Nabbers. It's Nabber's birthday tonight. So after this episode, we're
shout out to McNabb right now. I'm live on 39DD show. Getting a shout out right now. Big guy.
Any audience members? We got Pearson and we got my brother. If you guys have audience questions or if you want,
got 2 screens going.
Happy birthday, McNabb.
And make sure to, if you're not already, follow Big Bob on at 39DD Show on Instagram. Hit us up on all the social medias. Watch this on YouTube. If you're not watching this, do your thing. If you're a listening type person,
if you just want to hear the sibilant sounds of my soft and vivacious voice riding out to you in the night while you fall asleep, that's fine too. But we prefer if you like, share, subscribe, come and see us. We're waiting for you, man. We're everywhere. Also, I'm going to be doing some interesting things on my Instagram lately. I've been working on turning myself into a bowyer, trying to make bows in the old-fashioned English tradition out of ashwood, and it's a lot fucking harder than it looks. So I'll be giving some updates about that as we go. If you guys have any book reviews or things you want me to read you think would be good, please drop me a message and let me know about that shit too, because that's awesome, And yeah, one more time, I want to give us all a shout out. Especially I want to give a shout out to my co-hosts and to all our lovely guests. Everyone who's been on the show, everyone's been a part of this. To guys who can't be with us tonight, like Kareem, who's not around for obvious reasons. He's back home, and to Jabril. And
now in these days he should be, because he could just call in. But.
Let's go over all that, and I'm prepared to go into bonus time here. Okay. I wouldn't mind hearing another story from Chris. This is the 39 episode, so we can go OT in this. But let's shout out a few people. You mentioned Kareem, who was our editor and graphic designer, did the original logo. Jabril the Thrill.
Yeah,
Jabril Money.
Been a lot of episodes. James Tubey the Tubinator.
Legend.
Two more.
The Tubes.
Classic.
Absolute legend.
My brother's listening and watching right now. Chris Larson, a.k.a. Bumpus Ballfields. He wrote and recorded the theme song to this, to the podcast as well. Too. From New York City, live from across the street from Madison Square Garden. And, oh, man, so many people. Tony Long is... Interesting thing about Tony Long is currently editing the episodes and he's editing our teasers, but he actually shot and he was here the night of the blizzard in episode 1 at Laughing Vikings. So
yes, that's right.
An OG. Yeah. Now he's an MVP
Tony.
Again.
So yeah, huge shout out to Tony, who Trev and I met on We Came to Wreck Everything, which is a feature film that hopefully is coming out soon. But thank you, Tony at Shedlight, for all of your help. Anyone else that we should shout out in this anniversary episode?
The super fan who came on, is it Feps?
Oh, Sheps. Yeah, Sheps. I don't think he's on right now, but Sheps, I'm sure you're going to hear this. And we're going to
give him a super shout out too. I mean, he's definitely part of the heroic motion that keeps this thing going.
Also, back in the day at at 1830 downtown, we had Windy City Nick.
We haven't heard from stories from Chicago in a long time.
Yeah. But Chris, do you want to share? Tell us some more stories. Tell us some other funny things.
Well, I'll give you another one about the pub below you, actually. So as I've told Trevor and yourself already, that I used to live around the corner, not far from you boys, and lived in a house full of Irish lads, and one of them worked in that bar, and that's how I started going there. And I remember I was there when I first met my girlfriend one night, and the two of us were there. I think we'd been together maybe, I don't know, a month, right? Like not long. And we, the usual thing was to go out on a Friday night, hit Prohibition, and grab a few drinks and get a bit loose, right? And we went in there, and we were pretty far gone, drunk wise. I was okay, but her and her friend were very, very drunk, right? And I remember thinking, okay, like, it'll be time to wrap this up soon. We've got to get out of here. So I grab my girlfriend and I tell her to come with me. She grabs a jacket with herself, and then we're waiting for her friend. And as she's walking out, Bob, you probably can attest to this. Sometimes you see things in bars and they're just a little bit out of place. Something's going on and you can just tell something's not quite right. And
I call it the spidey sense. All bouncers get it, and anyone who's regular enough at a pub will have the same feeling. You're not sure what it is. You don't know what it is right away, but you feel it.
It's the atmosphere. Something is not right in the air. And I look over, and I remember seeing these two other ladies standing by the bar, and one of them was shorter with blonde hair, and then there was a taller one with brown hair. And the blonde-haired one was screaming in her friend's face and saying, I remember she was like, let's just go home. Let's just go home. It's fine. And her friend was like, no, it's okay. We'll stay. It was just a weird atmosphere. And then all of a sudden, the blonde-haired girl came over to my girlfriend and essentially said, whoa, what are you doing with my jacket? And my girlfriend was wasted. And essentially, my girlfriend had a jacket in her hands, but she thought it was my jacket because I had a very similar jacket, but I just hadn't brought it out with me. So my girlfriend had picked up, unbeknownst to her, someone else's jacket, assuming it was mine, and it happened to be this other girl's bomber jacket. So the blonde-haired girl was already in a bit of a bad mood. There was, as you say, Bob, the spidey sense was going off. And she took the jacket back, and my girlfriend was like, what? Okay. And she just walked off to her friend with the brown hair. And her friend with the brown hair goes, no, let's fucking go over there. I could just see her arguing and shouting. Went straight over to my girlfriend and started shouting in her face. And my girlfriend was like just smiling, going, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, because they obviously thought she was stealing this blonde girl's jacket. And my girlfriend was like, it's a fucking piece of shit jacket. I don't want the fucking jacket. It doesn't look good. That didn't help. But I could tell things were just getting a little bit, they were boiling over. And then my girlfriend's friend, who is very feisty, to say the least, comes over and just sees these two people shouting in my girlfriend's ear. So I look at the bouncer and I go, listen, I knew the bouncers because my friend obviously worked there. I said, listen, you need to get over here. These two ladies are they're being very aggressive towards my girlfriend and her friend. And as I did that, of course, they start pushing each other and it all kicks off. In the end, the two ladies who were aggressive got kicked out. And I said to my girlfriend, I said, listen, stay here. We'll stay here another 20 minutes and wait for them to sort of move on. We're not getting any arguments. I'm not standing in the middle of four women having a fight. It's just not happening.
That's the worst.
It's not happening. Because you don't know what to do. I can't like physically get involved. It's not happening. So instead, my girlfriend and her friend go, no, we're going to leave now. We'll just leave now. And I'm thinking, oh, fucking hell, here we go.
You know where this is going to go, yeah.
So we leave, and as we're walking up towards Queen and Broadview on the corner, the two girls are there, as if it's like a playground or something, like waiting for them, you know? And I'm thinking, oh, fucking hell, it's going to kick off. And I think my girlfriend's friend just said to the brown hair girl, she said, you're trash. And as soon as she said that, the brown hair girl, honestly, the most perfect straight right punch I've ever seen. Bang! Into my girlfriend's friend's face. And I just see my girlfriend's friend, she was like the Terminator. She went back and then just morphed back forward again. Like, you know, what's the Terminator, the T-2000? What's the one with the liquid?
T-1000, the T-1000.
Yeah, or it reminds me of Weebles Wobble, but they don't fall down.
Yeah. Oh, those punching clowns, you know, those boxing clowns?
Right.
She was just almost like too drunk that she just didn't care. It was an amazing punch, and yet she came back like liquid nitrogen, just back up, and looked at her, and the brown hair girl was stunned because she just thrown this amazing punch. She was like, oh my God, what do I do now? And my girlfriend's friend grabbed the other girl's hair, blonde hair girl, into the wall, brings her head into the wall, rips out her extensions, has them in her hand, and then from then on in, it's just a mess. And luckily, a gentleman from the bar came over, grabbed the other two girls and said, if you got those two, I've got these two. If you got those two, I've got these two. So I had to sort of like shepherd my girlfriend and her friend away as this was kicking off. And then we all went to a bar and had a few shots and worried what the fuck was that all about, you know?
I love that she ripped her extensions out. That reminds me of those lizards that when you pull their tails just fall off.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, geckos.
Yeah.
It was
that's funny. That reminds me of a bouncer technique, because when you're dealing with women, you do what's called the wall, because you can't hit them and you can't do anything, you can't grab them. So you just get a couple guys and you stand shoulder to shoulder and you just stand in front of them, and you're like, no, you got to go. No, you got to go. And every time they move towards where you want them to go, you just take another step closer. So if they want to go crazy, all they can do is kind of slap your chest and get mad at you, but they can't go anywhere. And so you slowly just like, it's like almost like a piston, right? You just kind of move down the hallway and just force them out of the way. You know what I mean?
It's a tough position to be in. I just felt like if this gets physical, which it eventually did, I was just like, I'm skilled with my conversation, but my hands, I'm not going to start grabbing anyone. You know what I mean? I've just got to sort of like shepherd people away. But I was very lucky that I had someone like you, Bob, who kind of understood, look, we're going to, he came over straight away and was like, I'll take these two. You're clearly with those two. And we'll separate them and this will just move on. I don't think anyone got severely injured. I think my girlfriend's friend, actually, she just had a bit of a fat lip and she felt a bit like a badass. So apart from the hair extensions, I think that was pretty bad. But yeah, that was a fun story right below you, Lars, right near where you are. And that was the first month I was with my girlfriend. So I was thinking, Jesus, I hope this stuff doesn't happen again. But yeah, it wasn't really her fault. She took the wrong jacket. It was an accident and it just all kicked off.
You said something there, Chris, that a lot of Irishmen say. They say, I just got lucky. And you can follow Chris at Lucky Fool Media. Check him out. Thank you for coming and joining us on this 39th anniversary episode here. I'm going to flip us over to gallery view so that we can do a final toast. We got Mike Pearson. Feel free to unmute yourselves. We've got Ketcheson. We got Chris with the music from New York City. Let's
all of the original scoring.
I'm going to flip over to Naber's birthday. But here's the 39, and here's the 39 more, and who knows what happens after that.
Well done to all of you.
Absolutely, guys. If you listen to the background right now, you might be able to hear some of the fireworks that are going off in my neighborhood, because I've decided to take a step out on the porch and enjoy a little bit of the
because we always have a show on a holiday. Every other show is on a holiday.
Well, that's because there's always holiday Mondays. There's so many. To the queen. Light one for the queen.
I can't do that, lads, unfortunately.
Yeah. Right.
Anyhow, once again, guys, on that note, I'd love to also say to all of you at home, thank you so much for being with us on this crazy journey. And we hope to be here for many more and to see you guys next week and on all of our favorite sites. Again, don't forget, check us out where you get your goddamn podcasts, okay? Because we're literally everywhere. Lars has made sure that we're everywhere. So that's us for another Monday, another fantastic episode. Happy 39, everybody. Happy 39. Happy Victoria Day. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. You were great. Thanks to all of our other audience members and listeners. We couldn't do this without you guys. We love you.
No, we love you.
All right, take care. Thanks for having me.
Goodbye.